So something I do outside of streaming is a lot of artistic stuff, you know, like creation type things, anywhere from painting to physical making things. And as a lot of you probably know, I'm a massive fan of Coldplay, the band. They came out with their album called Everyday Life when I was in a really hard spot in my life. And it really was kind of super topical for everything I was going through, just kind of talking about the world is like in a kind of rough spot right now. Like, what are we gonna do about it? You know, we just gotta keep dancing when the lights go out is a lyric that really resonated with me during that time. On that album, they have a song called Daddy. And before all you Twitch people get the giggles out, you know, haha, Daddy. It's actually a really emotional song about a girl who lost her father and really misses him and is trying to connect with him again, even though he's no longer there. And the video for that, the music video for that song is super incredible. It's this giant puppeteered whale that these famous puppeteers called Brunskill and Grimes created. And this girl is drowning in a boat. Her boat is sinking, and then the whale comes, and it's kind of representative of the father and helping her find her way out of, you know, the lost emptiness of the sea. And she kind of flies away on the back of this whale while the lyrics are playing in the background, you know, and she's saying like, I miss you and I hope to see you again someday. So I was very inspired by that. So I wanted to make that because that's how artists and makers think, is you see something you're really inspired by and that really resonates with you, then you want to create one for yourself. So I actually got in contact with the people who did the whale for that music video, which I was absolutely elated when they got back to me and told me a little bit about their process and how they did theirs. So I got a little bit of info. I drew out the whale, and I have a smaller, like actual foam, like foam you would find inside like a memory foam mattress. I had an old mattress made of that, and I cut it up and made smaller pieces of this whale just to kind of see. But I ended up getting like gym floor mat foam, like EVA foam, and I ended up using that as the base of the whale, which is one of the best materials to work with, because if you put like barge cement on that, it will never come undone. You can, even if it's bent in weird ways, if you get that, and you could use like a heat gun to melt it and manipulate it, and it will just never ever move. So that's how I did the whale in the first place. And then I went through and I Dremel carved out little indentations, and I carved out the eyes, and I carved out where all that stuff would be. And I went through a couple different processes of spray paints and acrylic paints for highlights and lowlights. And then, you know, that's basically the long and short of it. It took me, it took me like 100 or so hours or something. It was, at the time, one of the longest projects I've ever done in the quickest amount of time, because I did that in like maybe 2 weeks or something. So it was like just a real grind. And I have it hung up in my room right now. So every night I go to bed, I have like blue lights in my room. You know, those, just basically these, but I just have them set to blue. And so it kind of looks like you're in the ocean with the whale. And if I turn my air conditioner on, it's right below it. It kind of makes it sway and move, because it's hung in separate pieces. It's not all connected. It's like there's several body portions of the whale, and there's several like the tail and the fins are off to the side. So it took like 2 hours to hang in general, but yeah, it's a really awesome piece. It's one of the ones I'm most proud of. One of the ones I put the most work into and actually finished, because that's a big problem that I have, at least as an artist, is when I start things, I tend to like have trouble finishing it. So that's why I was grinding it so hard, was to try to like really actually accomplish something for once and complete it. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this little talk about something else I do other than streaming. And let's get back to whatever we're doing. Or cut to Jeremy. Something's gonna happen, and it's gonna be more entertainment. Or not. The internet could go out right now.
So, outside of stream, I do quite a few different things. Obviously, if you've been around for a little while, you know, I build lots of Lego sets. That's one of my big hobbies. I also I collect Power Ranger stuff. That's another one of my big things. Kind of like a nostalgic thing from when I was a kid. I watched Power Rangers almost all the time. That was one of my favorite things as a little kid, and now I've brought that into adulthood. That's one of the things I do. The same with Lego. Another big thing that's been pretty constant throughout my whole life has been my dad has always played guitar, at least since I was fairly young. He's played guitar, and we've always had guitars in the house. And, you know, when I went to college, I was kind of, doing my own thing for a long time. I had an electric guitar when I was younger, and I saw my last semester at the community college I started going to school at, I saw at the beginning that they offered a guitar building class. As weird as that sounds, it was probably my favorite class I had taken at community college, minus I thought one of my psych classes was a lot of fun. So there was a guitar building class. I took it. Didn't know how I felt about it at first, but I knew my buddy Jake was doing it with us. So the long and short of it is, I built a guitar. I built my own guitar. This is one of my favorite things I've ever done was build this thing, and it's carved. We had to carve our own bodies out of this hunk of wood and do all the electric. I did this painting. This is lacquered, like a sunbursty kind of color. This was one of the things that I never thought I'd be able to do. And I took this class, and they walked us through it step by step, and it really showed me the potential that anybody has to do something, to build something, to do something they want to do, if you take the time and learn it and ask for help from those who might be able to offer it. Like, my teacher at community college that had built 24 guitars before, he sat us all down and walked us step by step over the course of a semester, and we were able to build guitars. And, at the end of it, my buddy Jake, he built this really nice dark blue, it's like a monochrome, deep, like almost like galaxy blue, I think is what he called it. And I'm not very good at guitar. I'll admit that right now. But it's something I'd always kind of thought about, not actively, but kind of in the back of my mind, how do people build guitars? What do you have to do? Where, and not having anyone who's ever done that around, I couldn't really go out and ask. And growing up, I didn't have a whole lot of access to things like the internet until I was, a teenager. And at that point, it's I'm not going to go out of my way to figure out how guitar is built. But I took that class, and it was really eye-opening for a couple of reasons. If you put your mind to it, you can do anything. You can do almost anything if you really put your mind to it and figure it out. It took a lot of work to build this thing. It was not easy. It was not simple, and it was not quick. It took a long time. This neck, these are laser engraved and then recessed with wood. This is like a rosewood fretboard, and then these inlays are a wormy chestnut. It was like a really thin piece of wood. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. But I'd inlay those, and then I had to sand down the boards so they were all flush. That took a long time. The laser cutting was quick, but then setting them, waiting for it to dry, and then sanding it all down took a little while. The same with the finish. The finish took several coats in probably 12 hours to do. And intonation, which is how much the strings can go up and down, that took a long time to get right. So it taught me patience. It taught me value of time. But in the end, I wound up with a guitar that I built, that I can say I built. And that's probably one of my favorite things about that whole project, is that I came out of it knowing I had a skill that I didn't have before, and I can face new challenges head on. So, yeah, guitar.